when you see something like this, where on paper the California law seemed to work, do you think that's the best way to go about getting diversity on boards?
Yeah, I won't necessarily say it's the best way, but I will say that it's effective, because if it's out there and it's mandated, it's more than a goal, and people are going to drive towards that. And you know the old saying, you can't manage what you can't measure. So there's the measurement right there. So clearly it's been effective.
Even just reading that, I had, as a woman, like mixed reactions. Like on the one hand, my pride's like, I want to be on a board because I'm a good board member. I don't want you to give me a handout because you have to. And the other one is, take it. Get it where you are, just get it from wherever you can get it from, and then just prove that you're awesome.
Yes.
Can you walk me through like how you think of something like that?
Absolutely. The former sentiment, I would say, is not warranted, because nobody's going to put you on a board just because you're a woman. You're going to get on that board because you are outstanding. You are an expert in your field. They think you are a great strategist, and you'll get along well from a relationship standpoint with that board and be able to get to effective solutions. So that's why you're being chosen. Make no mistake. But I think, you know, having the mandate will certainly help people to go outside of what's easy and familiar. And when we're all trying to do something quickly, we go to what's familiar. And so you won't necessarily think about going outside of the person that you know or the person that you play golf with. So I think it's been effective in having people broaden their thinking. But make no mistake, you're not getting on unless you're outstanding.
So thank you for that. So when some of the pushback in that particular sense has been, you haven't served on a board at all. So all these people now on boards, women on boards who haven't done that work. You've done a lot of work with VCs, with Morgan Stanley. How do you think about that? Like,
sure.
You might not have a track record as a venture capitalist or a tech startup, but it's okay because, like, how do you think about it?
Yes, well, so first of all, everybody had to start somewhere. Everybody had their first board. Second of all, there's lots of organizations that will certainly prep you and train you on how to be an effective board member, not to mention all the great academic programs at Harvard or Kellogg that are focused just on helping you to think about who you should be now as a board director. So I don't worry about the first time thing. The second thing is that when I think about all the early stage companies, they really do need very seasoned executives who have sort of seen several cycles, who have also had experience in advising boards in the case of being an investment banker, for example, and certainly who have built cultures before. So I think that seasoned executives have a very important role to play on emerging companies today.
So, same with the VC world for a while, because Morgan Stanley has a multicultural innovation lab. You hosted a demo lab last week where basically founders come in and they pitch themselves to investors. Can you talk a little bit about the success rate that you've seen, like return on investment for female VC startups versus multicultural startups? Sure.
There's lots of data out there now that shows that female entrepreneurs and female-led companies and multicultural-led companies have either performed on par with sort of the broader set or have actually outperformed. And I think now, because of what we're doing with the Multicultural Innovation Lab, and now we've just had our third demo day, and we have the podcast Access and Opportunity, we're raising the awareness around this as a real commercial opportunity. And last week when we had the demo day, we had a standing room only room of different class of investors. We had regular way, traditional venture capitalists, we had corporate VCs, we had family offices, high net worth individuals, and institutions who were looking for strategic investments. And we counted $6.9 billion of dry powder in the room, which is an amazing opportunity for those early stage companies who would never have this kind of exposure in one shot to these investors.
Is that different from like the last 2 years you did it?
Yes, I'd say it's grown tremendously. I'd say, you know, the first year we had about 150, last year we had a couple hundred, and now to have, 300 people in a room, and we even had an overflow room, and to have that amount of capital, dry powder, it probably was 2x of what we had in the room last year.
What's the success rates? We just showed some pie charts that that we've had some average returns, some outperformance, some don't know yet, it's too early. Like, what have you noticed in the last 3 years from these companies that have been able to take the capital and run?
Well, just take our first class, for example, which is now 2 years old. There were 2 companies that have been sold out of that cohort. There was another one that went to another very prestigious accelerator, a corporate accelerator, where that corporation put in 2x the amount of money that Morgan Stanley did. Another one did a very successful ICO when that market was open. And then another one has now raised one of the top fundraisers of African-American entrepreneurs, top 5. So that was the success of the first class with only 5 companies. And with last year's company, we've had a few more that they've raised almost $20 million collectively between second and third class.
And I don't want to let you leave without talking about Holiday in Harlem.
Yes.
It's a concert at the Apollo that you put on Tuesday night. You're still recovering.
Yes.
So were you always out there as like a gospel singer when you were younger in your career? And I say that because I've gotten notes in my career like, be like this woman, be like this woman. Like I would have never talked about, say, Star Wars like a couple years ago on television. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, I'll tell you, Alix, I think your authenticity is your distinct competitive advantage. And certainly I fell into the same trap in the first couple of years. Don't tell anybody that you can sing. But over time, people started to figure out. And then next thing you know, I was singing Happy Birthday all over the Capital Markets floor whenever it was somebody's birthday. And I've been singing gospel for a very long time. And this is the second year that Morgan Stanley sponsored this concert on behalf of the Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital up in Columbia Heights, up in Upper Harlem. And all of the proceeds that were raised go to the hospital because they completely underwrote everything else. Prior to this, I did 5 distinct Carnegie Hall concerts where all of the proceeds went to A Better Chance, SEO, and Bishop Kenny High School out in Jacksonville, Florida. And I gotta tell you, it is a privilege and an honor to be able to use the other side of who you are to help other people. Because certainly as a business executive, you can write a check, you can be on a board, but to be able to use another part of your God-given talent to be able to help other people and to do it with your Morgan Stanley colleagues.
That's a great
all
point.
The singers were from Morgan Stanley.
What's more intimidating? Oh, really? All the singers were from Morgan Stanley?
Yes, everybody in that show.
Really? How did you do that? Did you audition them? What was that?
Yes, we said, listen, you know, if you want to be in the show, send us 30 seconds of you singing your favorite holiday song. And a few of my colleagues and I, Crystal Farmer and Craig Martone, we looked at it and we picked the singers who were in there last year, and we added 7 other singers this year.